Good morning, folks. And here's an interesting little article on Bounding into Comics about the recent GalaxyCon of the DS9 actors. And they came on the panel to talk about the show for all these years. And one actor specifically, Armin Shimerman, talked about how the legacy of the show is Black Lives Matter. Now, that's curious because we're talking about Star Trek, or any of the Star Trek series, rather. They all address various issues. It's episodic content. You're going to get a different story every time. And when you're in the future of Gene Roddenberry's world, these issues have pretty much been resolved, at least on the human side. And then we get to look at them from someone who's already dealt with these issues hundreds of years ago and don't even consider them issues. So we see them from the alien perspective, which is interesting. That's what you do in science fiction. You're allowed to see things from different perspectives, from how aliens, who are, I guess, mirror images or shards of glass of the mirror of humanity. So this is what Armin Shimerman had to say about the legacy of DS9. Certainly, with an understanding of what the African American community has been suffering for many years, we always were reminded of that on the show. We had a phenomenal actor who was very much concerned with Black Lives Matter, our Captain Avery Brooks. You're thinking, okay, yes, there were some episodes, certainly, with Cisco. The most memorable one for me was Far Beyond the Stars, which showcased the science fiction author, what was his name? Benny Russell, played by Avery Brooks, and how this was all in his head, this idea of Deep Space Nine. And it was one of those weird episodes, like, okay, is this really happening? Is this a dream? What's going on? Is someone just playing a holodeck experience? So yes, there were some stories and episodes specifically about racism. And there's one also in particular where this is I think a little cooler, just because it shows Avery Brooks, or rather Cisco, as a character, as opposed to this weird dream sequence. I'm not a big fan of dream sequences. They don't really equate to the story. You can do a dream sequence about anything in any story because it's a dream. It's imaginative. It's like, what's the point? So this is one where Cisco is actually concerned about racism, not in the world of Deep Space Nine, but in a holodeck environment. And this is why he doesn't like it.
Really want to know what my problem is? I'll tell you. Las Vegas, 1962, that's my problem. In 1962, black people weren't very welcome there. Oh, sure, they could be performers or janitors, but customers never.
Maybe that's the way it was in the real Vegas, but that is not the way it is at Vic's. I have never felt uncomfortable there, and neither has Jake.
But don't you...
So this is like a non-issue for people in the future. And Cisco's like, well, this is a bad recreation of Vegas in the 60s. And Cisco's girlfriend's like, hey, this is just for fun. We're doing this. It wasn't supposed to be a recreation of historical accuracy. It was supposed to be a holodeck suite program for fun. And this is all about trying to help Vic in his program. And he's a hologram. And Cisco's like, what the hell are we doing? It's a hologram. Why do we care? I don't even like this guy. He ends up singing a song with Vic at the end because he's such a cool guy. That's Avery Brooks. Now, here's an actual interview back in 2013 of a fan asking him about what is it like to be the first black African-American captain on a Star Trek show. What does Avery Brooks think?
Black, or is it just he was a character, he happens to be black, or is it, did it really mean something?
It means something to me?
Either to you, or do you feel like, wow, this is actually a big deal, I'm getting to do something that I think is important?
Oh no, I didn't think that at all.
Okay.
No, I'm just telling you. No. If every day I wake up and I say to myself, okay, I'm going to do a brown male thing today. People say, what was it like being, a black captain? You can't play that.
Dude, I got cast on Star Trek, and guess what color I am?
You can't play that.
Brown.
How do you play a color? You can't do that. What I can do is wake up in the morning, like I told you, as Samuel and Eva's child. And who is that? A human being. and brown and male and American and all these things. That's what I bring. And they saw that and decided they were going to do that. There was nothing in what I read, at least, which identified him as such.
Thank you. That's actually exactly what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
So there you go. He's pretty much just saying, no, I'm an actor. I do things. I play a role. This whole thing about being white or black or this or that he's not an acting job. That's just part of a character. That's a small part of a character. So all these elements in Star Trek or science fiction or space opera, it's a giant melting pot, and you can talk about them. You can bring them up in topics for conflict, for a theme of a story. You can showcase them as aliens. There's all sorts of elements. So what I think is going on is because actors are not acting very much today, there's the whole lockdown thing with the coronavirus, and there's not much happening. Aside from what's happening in the news, it being an election year, people are talking about Black Lives Matter and taking down statues because, oh my goodness, they were around at the time of slavery. So this is what's on people's minds. They're bringing it up. He continues, I think one of the legacies of the show is his performance, what they wrote for him to demonstrate the problems of being a black man in basically a white and orange society. I don't know what a white and orange society means unless he's referring to Orange Man Bad, meaning the current president of the United States, which is completely unrelated to Star Trek. This is silly, unless there's a particular episode I'm not thinking of here. My memory of DS9 is a little hazy. So obviously we know where his stripes are on the political spectrum lie, but we're talking about an ensemble cast of episodic storytelling of a massive science fiction franchise where these issues are no longer relatable to humans and they have to be depicted by aliens. So for them to do a holodeck suite program and having that as a conflict, or creating a dream sequence, it's they have to push the narrative in order to make a narrative in the fiction, because the fiction is not there. It's not natural to the world of DS9, or rather of Star Trek. Now, I don't know how it is with New Trek or Star Trek Discovery. I think that's a whole other ballgame. With DS9, we had religion, we had war, we had all sorts of wonderful conflicts in the Alpha Quadrant and who was going to control it, and the Cisco, and what he meant is almost a Jesus-like character. He was flawed, and he was passionate, and he did things his own way. That's what I remember of Cisco, not so much of him being black or this or that, which is kind of the point, I think, and that we can showcase men and women of various backgrounds as people and unique people, as opposed to categorizing them as something as we might do today. But hey, that's the state of the world today, and actors talking in conventions, showcasing their politics because, why not? Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a great day.